Hi, I'd like to talk to you today about mouthpieces and mouthpiece sizes. I've only used very few over my career, and I've always sort of been the kind of player to find something that I liked and stuck with it. Eventually though, you realise that on a deep cup, you're working very, very hard if you want to play lead trumpet, and it's probably not the right sound that you're after either. So eventually I started to do a little bit of experimenting and discovered primarily that the sounds change from mouthpiece to mouthpiece, and the smaller the mouthpieces are, the brighter the sound is. So if I want to play a lead commercial trumpet, I'm going to use something with a very bright sound, and that comes from a shallower mouthpiece. And if I'm going to play in a brass quintet or sit amongst in an orchestra section with a lot of guys using big gear, I'll change and use a 1.5C Bach to try and change the sound to blend with what they're doing. There's a common misconception that you can play higher on a smaller mouthpiece. In my experience, I don't find that to be correct. I can play the same range on both. It's just with the deeper cup, they're a lower compression mouthpiece, so you have to work harder to get that range happening. And I feel like I'm physically manipulating and forcing, where on a shallower mouthpiece the harmonics speak a lot more easily. So and the sound is what I'm after. Now originally, just off the point for a second, the throat size of the mouthpiece is very interesting. If I ever had a throat diameter that was too small, I would feel like that the mouthpiece was too small for me, and I would go, I need something bigger. Perhaps I should have thought, well, maybe you're overblowing. So I started to learn how to use mouthpieces with a slightly smaller throat, and the harmonics actually speak a lot easier if you learn to back off. The more open the throat, the harder it is to keep the compression up. Okay, so as far as sounds go, I play a 1.5C Bach if I need the sound to be darker, or in an orchestral setting, to try and blend with the guys in the orchestra. Now if I go on to, I'm using my Sinkowitz number 2 Bobby Shoe piece, I sort of work down to the 1.75 and 1.5. The sound changes, but I like the number 2. I've got some great friends and colleagues who use the number 1. I don't know how they do it. I bottom out, so maybe I'm still pinching or rolling or something. But I personally like, for me, the sound of the number 2. So that one feels nice. My favourite mouthpiece of all, though, is the Bobby Shoe Yamaha lead. I love the sound of it, but I think it's a little shallow for me. It's the mouthpiece I played right on the opening of this clip. But I find if I get into the upper register and give it too much, it'll just shut off. So I need to just keep working on it. And as I go along, I become more familiar with the sensation of shape. You know, maybe I'll stop closing down and I'll be able to use this one all the time. But it's about what's comfortable for you. I may never use it, or maybe I will. It's what's comfortable and what works and what sounds right in any particular playing scenario. I just saw a statement actually recently that said play the biggest gear that you can and the smallest gear that you can, and someone suggested perhaps that was saying the same thing, and I actually don't believe that it is. I want to go as big as I can to get the darkest sound that I can in a orchestral setting, and I want to go as small as I can without going too small, so you can play with the right sound as well, where you're comfortable. The Yamaha lead piece is a little bit too small for me because I can't guarantee my consistency, where on the Marcinkowitz I am more comfortable. So anyway, there's my thoughts on mouthpieces. Enjoy. Cheers.